Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Fiend Folio and we're going to look at fog giants. These guys were a breath of fresh air when Fiend Folio came out because I always felt giants were a little underpowered in first edition. Second edition went a long way to fixing that. But fog giants came in strong. So fog giant, very rare, number appearing 1 to 4, armor class 1, very rarely 1 to 6 appearing, armor class 1, 14 hit dice, pretty formidable. 1 attack for 4 to 24 damage. They can hurl rocks for 2 to 20 points of damage. Special defenses see below. Magic resistance standard, average to high intelligence. And alignment is 50% good or 50% evil. So neutral good or neutral evil. And they are large, 18 foot tall. Fog giants are cousins to cloud giants, and if on very rare occasions as many as 6 fog giants are encountered, they will always be accompanied by a cloud giant. Fog giants have very keen hearing and highly developed sense of smell. For these reasons, they are surprised only on a 1 on a die 6. They also have the ability to blend into fog, thus gaining surprise on their opponents, 80% chance. They inhabit foggy areas such as marshes, swamps, dense forests, and places near the sea coast. Fog giants have milk white skin, silvery white hair, and black penetrating eyes. They love massive ornate swords and prefer armor made from white dragon hide studded with silver. In melee, they fight either with the swords they love or with their fists. In either case, the damage is 4 to 24. Their armor, if worn, has no effect on their AC, which is always treated as a 1. Adult fog giants, like their cloud giant cousins, can hurl rocks from 10 feet to 240 feet, inflicting 2 to 20 points of damage if they hit, and they have a 45% chance of catching similar missiles. Fog giants speak their alignment language and their own particular dialect of the giant language, unintelligible to all other giants except cloud giants. So pretty strong for 1981 when this book came out, for the fog giant to be sitting there at 14 hit dice. That was a nice, strong giant. I was happy to get this guy, and of course, most of the time, even though it's 50-50, most of the time mine came up evil, and the players had to deal with it. I did one encounter where I gave the fog giants a horn of fog, and I let them blow the horn, and it would just fill the area with fog, and then they could slip around and do their fog hijinks. That was a really effective encounter. The players were a long while getting their way around and out of that one because the fog giants kept striking and then flowing back into the fog. And as the fog would start to clear, they'd win the horn again, and all of a sudden it would be exactly filled with fog again, and they'd have all kinds of problems. I let the horn of fog work very well for the fog giant, and I kind of made a de facto ruling that horns of fog were actually made by fog giants, and they just somehow got into human hands, or they were made for them, and they were smaller, or for humans that worked with them, something associated with fog giants. Just some lore I did at my table. It's not anything official, but it was pretty interesting. And then to have them wearing white dragon hides studded with silver, I ruled that if they did have fog giants with white dragon hides, and I did, that they'd be less affected by cold. I gave them the same effects as if they had a ring of warmth on because of the white dragon hide that they were wearing. I also made them kind of innately immune to any kind of real cold. So putting some of these guys into the Frost Giant Jarl Adventure G2 against the Giants, where you can have some fog coming off the ice. Fog giants work very, very well in that scenario, and I have used them in there for that exact reason. So I also had a scenario where I was a player and the DM had us in a fog-bound area. It was in actually a dungeon, and it was in a massive room. We didn't know how massive because we couldn't see the ends for the fog. And we had fog giants lurking around in this room, and he had just said the room was kind of specially made for them, and it's their room, and they can move around in it. That was one heck of an encounter. We were about 8th or 9th level players or characters at the time, and to have a couple of fog giants moving around in fog with as formidable as they are against those levels, that was a heck of a fight. I think there were 2 in the room, but it took us a long time to even figure out how many there were, let alone to kind of level the playing field and make it that we'd actually be able to find the things and attack them. The -4 attack, -4 damage thing you get for being effectively blind in the fog, my DM said, no, I'm going to make it an all or nothing. You're either going to hit them, and I'll still give you -4, -4, or you're going to miss them. And he would base that depending on what we did to prep for it. So we stayed real still and were intently listening. He'd roll the dice to see if we were being surprised out of the fog. And if we weren't surprised out of the fog, he'd let us spin, and then we could strike the giant. It'd still be -4, but at least we could hit it. And failing that, he would have us turn. If we failed the surprise, he'd have us turn and swing and completely miss the giant. That made the encounter much more difficult. We finally cleaned it up. We had a wand of fireballs with very few charges left, but we finally cleaned it up by just saying the heck with it. Let's just start lobbing some fireballs where we think they are, and maybe burn off some of the fog, which did thin the fog a little bit because we removed some of the moisture in the atmosphere. So the DM ruled that, yeah, the fog thinned enough, and then we were finally able to see them. But that entire encounter with only 2 fog giants with 5 players in the group, that took probably 45 minutes of actual time to run the entire encounter the way he had it set up. It was really well done. It's my best encounter, player or DM, with fog giants. But there you have it. That's a look at our foggy friends from our good friend, the Fiend Folio. I love this book. I think there's a lot of goofy, wonderful monsters in here, and I use it whenever I can. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave any comments below. Also, tell your friends, and if you can, take a look at the Patreon and help me out there if you're able to. And that's it for today. I'll see you next time on page 121.